Okay, hi there, hello, welcome, and thanks for showing up. Thanks for everyone for showing up. This is a really good turnout. Thank you so much. So, that's me, Patrick. I'm at stopsprayingus.com, and if this cord, screw it. So, so I'm against this, and this is the Eastern Sierras. Actually, it was round about like Earth Day, and this is what our skies have become. And we all know it's not a good thing, but not everyone else does. So, what is this? So, aircraft condensation trails, say the World Meteorological Association. They set, by the way, they announced this on 322 last year. If you know your numbers, that's an interesting one. So the water vapor, it just condenses into these things, so whatever. Okay, condensation, right. If I spill some water here, it will evaporate because it's not the air is not completely saturated with water. That's what humidity is. 100% humidity. The air cannot hold any more water, and then it will let stuff out as condensation. If it's not 100% humidity, it cannot do this. This isn't water vapor, and I shall show you some more. So, this guy, we all know our favorite. I'm going to keep this YouTube safe. This guy. He says this year will spray a fine mist of materials such as sulfur dioxide, alumina, whatever, above Tucson, right? So, aluminum. If you go to PubMed and type in aluminum toxicity, you get 5,229 results. You don't get that result if you put in like ice cream. It's not good. Why is it not good? This guy, he is awesome. He has been studying aluminum toxicity since the early 80s. His name's Chris Exley. Nobody will fund him, obviously. He gets all his money from private philanthropy. So I spoke to him and said, okay, so what's the problem with alumina? What goes on? So aluminum, the metal, is the most common metal in the Earth's crust. That's true. It's in the form of bauxite. Bauxite is an aluminum hydroxide. It's got an O for oxygen and a hydrogen. It's extremely stable. To break down aluminum ore to alumina, you have to boil it in caustic soda to begin with. Which, unless you're unless you see like boiling pools of caustic soda around, you're not going to come across alumina. But what actually happens is alumina, my MacBook's made of aluminum. The outside is alumina. If you scrape it, it makes more alumina. It's not entirely insoluble. What happens is when you breathe in these particles, and they get inside your brain, and these are very small particles. I actually have some here, I brought some, they're scary. They will dissolve over time. The Al3 plus ion will come off, and at first the brain cell will start acting a bit off, and then it gets to a certain point where it undergoes programmed cell death or apoptosis, permanent death. This is how our body usually, if there's a cancer cell, it realizes, cut it out. Do not grow, stop, and do not make any more of you damaged cells. Permanent brain damage. If you have a stroke, you can recover speech and stuff. Your brain can recover itself, but if it's apoptosis and it knows it's a bad thing, it stays permanently dead. And that is basically Alzheimer's in a nutshell. So, go figure. Number 1 cause of death in England and Wales. Number one, here's a graph where it shows it's a number 1 above heart attack, stroke and all that other stuff. So, I needed to know when the spraying started in earnest. I'm on Facebook, I got a lot of followers and stuff, so I just asked this. When did you first notice? I got 360 comments, so I did a little graph. It starts in the 70s, there's 3, 10, 51, boom, that was when it went up, in the 90s. And of course, this is first, if it was, whatever, that shows when it started in earnest. It was going long before, but anyway, next slide is, so I dug around in the CDC. They do not make it easy to find historical mortality data, but I came across a PDF, which wasn't on a page, but by changing the date, I got national statistics in detail going back to 1965. But this shows, so you have, this is 1979, that's 2016. The total cause, this is 2 million here, so it went from under 2 million to a little over 2 million, right? So if we look at cancer, it's sort of the same, Okay, let's have a look at COPD. Ooh, why it's going up? Maybe the air's not getting better. I thought we had Clean Air Act and stuff. Funny that. 1979 to 2016. Parkinson's. Right? What did I say about the 90s? Right? Parkinson's. A neurodegenerative disease, when AL3 plus does that. But I have a treat for you. Well, not a treat. Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, right? Down here, 1979, there were 850 deaths nationally. And it goes up, this is under 30,000 here. And it took off. As you can see, it went whoa, and then in the last recent years, it's spiking. This is only up to 2016. And also, this is for Alzheimer's as the primary cause of death. This does not include comorbidity. So these numbers are doubled, at least. So basically, when you compare first observation of spraying, it matches exactly when it took off. All of these deaths were not only avoidable, they were deliberate. These are all murders. And I'll get onto that later. All right, so this is US Nano Research Materials, Inc. and aluminum oxide nanoparticles, Al2O3, 5 nanometers. Give you an idea of scale. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. A strand of DNA, the width of a strand of DNA is about 2 to 3 nanometers. That's the size of the width of DNA. Ooh, I bought some. This stuff, it's still in its box because I dare not open it. I'm being quite serious. I'm very serious. I dare not open this. This kills people. It'll do it in increments. It's a steady disease, but each additional bit of aluminum will hasten your death. So, this is from the material safety data sheet for this stuff, which I'll put back in the box. Alzheimer's, obviously, causes tumors when you inject it into animals. We're animals. Chris Exley, he was saying that the research in the first half of the 20th century about aluminum was not about Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's didn't exist then, as you could see. It was cancer. They knew it was cancer. All the papers published in the first half of the 20th century were about the carcinogenic effects of aluminum, and they don't let those papers get published anymore. So I collect evidence. We can all collect evidence. What I do, I live in San Francisco, and this is actually from in Oregon, and so I was up in Oregon for a year, and these are my results from my rainwater tests. the number here is how many times I tested for aluminum. So the percentage of more than half, it was positive above method detection limits, and it ranged from 16 micrograms per liter to 540. Barium and whatever. Iron is something we really have to look at, and I'll explain there later. Pretty much 80% of the time, from not detected at all up to 400. Sulfur, I've only tested 4 times, but there's a crap load of sulfur. Oh, where have we heard sulfur before? Stratospheric sulfate injections, maybe? So, here's an example. This is in one time I got 160 micrograms per liter of barium and nothing on the other ones. They vary independently. That puts a lie to, oh, I'm contaminating my samples with, the same sort of stuff. Right. This thing is a really interesting gadget, because the shills will say, okay, I don't believe you. You're just testing stuff, okay, the top of a tall building, but that could be from cars or some other thing. You're full of crap. Prove they're spraying us. Why don't you just go up there and test it for yourself? Well, someone did. They flew this plane, this little nozzle thing at the right there. It's an input thing. It comes in here, and it'll get ice particles. It'll get the water off it, and then hit it with a powerful laser and do a mass spectrometer to see what is in it. So, in this copy of Science right here, it was published 14th of June 2015. The links will be on stopsprayingus.com. I shall read you the abstract. Clarifying the dominant sources and mechanisms of cirrus cloud formation. What seeds are the clouds forming on? Our results demonstrate that mineral dust and metallic particles are the dominant source of residual particles. Most of the clouds are made of mineral or metal, whereas sulfate and organic particles are underrepresented, and elemental carbon and biological materials are essentially absent. It's not pollen, it's not incomplete combustion from plane, it's not soot, it's metals. And here's where they flew around, and there are different flights. This was in 2006, 2011, and down in 2002. And here's the flight paths around, in the southern states and Central America. The brown stuff is metals and minerals. And a metal oxide is a mineral. Alumina is a mineral. Okay, this is the mass spectrometry results. And the top one is for mineral dust. Aluminum, big frickin' spike aluminum there. And they can say, oh, well, maybe that was dust, the bauxite from the ground that somehow managed to get further up than pollen, which is much lighter, but whatever. But if you follow this line down, so when you go down here on the metallic side, they're showing, there's sodium, there's potassium, and there's iron. These are the metals themselves. These are not oxides. Iron rusts when you expose it to air and water. How on earth is it staying as iron? But here, when you look down this line, this is not zero. Aluminum is highly reactive, and yet they're finding aluminum metal in the stratosphere. They are spraying us, and there's proof, and they published it in the most mainstream, widely read scientific journal in America. They're spraying us. Okay, now we get back to Dr. Keith. And he was saying, when they're out talking, they say stratospheric sulfate injection. Well, we're going to put sulfates or sulfuric acid in the sky and, to block the sun and whatnot. But he says here, it isn't that effective because it sticks together and falls out of the sky. Instead, we should use nanoparticles. And he thought, we could actually design nanoparticles and make them look like this. Okay, this is his little flying discs. So the top layer is alumina, which kills you. The second layer is free aluminum, which kills you. The third layer is barium, which kills you, titanate. And then iron. This is magnetite. Fe3O4 is an oxide of iron. So iron, what's the big deal with iron? We survived the Iron Age. What's the problem? Well, first of all, it's in all our brains. They found crap loads in everyone they tested. We have a huge amount of these freaking round. That's 10 nanometers, and these are really small nanometers. Actually, this other box is 3 nanometer magnetite particles. Both of these boxes, I was levied a $40 hazmat handling fee. Right? So this is in our brains already. Oh yeah, and that's where you can buy it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I just want to make the point that you can get it. Same place. Right, so wire wool. Of course, I'm talking mostly about Alzheimer's and stuff, but if we have iron particles in our brains and then expose them to radio frequencies, you put it in a microwave, press the button and run for cover. Boom. Yeah. You want that going in? These things, they could boom. Like that is a fast kill weapon. That's a fast kill weapon. But anyway, so the reason I'm coming back to Chris is because he told me something very interesting. Because in one of his papers, he was talking about, and it mentioned iron in there, because the only reason I was looking for iron is because David Keith was talking about it in his thing. So I started testing for iron. And it's in 80% of the rainwater in San Francisco and Oregon. Okay, so how Alzheimer's works. There are these amyloid plaques that are called, well, basically, Al3 plus is a pro-oxidant, and iron is an oxidant. You put the two of them together, you multiply the oxidative stress on your neuron by a factor of 10. It's like a catalyst. It's not a catalyst, it's actually, it fuels the destruction of our brain cells. So, if you're anyone out there who's also doing rainwater analysis, don't do aluminum, barium, strontium. Do at least aluminum, iron, titanium, and maybe barium. But anyway. Okay, what's this one? Oh, Shasta. The reason I have this bottle here is 2 years ago, I started drinking Mount Shasta water. It's very awesome. And of course, I've been testing my rain for all these things, and the highest amount of aluminum I ever got was 540 micrograms per liter. Chris Exley here, he says, because you notice his title mentioned there's like silicon here. Silicic acid is the soluble version of silicon, and it doesn't react with anything except itself and free aluminum. When it encounters free aluminum, it makes an aluminosilicate, which your body can recognize into something safe and eject through your sweat or your urine. And when you drink silica-rich water and test your urine afterwards, it is equal amounts of silicon and aluminum. That's how we protect ourselves from aluminum. If you can't drive all the way to Shasta, Fiji water has it. But I'm asking everyone who's watching this, if you have a spring near you, test water for silicon. If we know what waters help us, we're protecting ourselves. So anyway, by the way, I have a lot here, so if you have a cup or a thing you want to fill it up, it's all yours. I brought it for all of you guys. No, silicon isn't necessarily soluble. Silicon isn't really that soluble. I mean, when it gets into this silicic acid, you can actually manufacture it yourself. I might make a way of doing that. But everyone, if you can get hold of, if you have a spring near you, test it. That's how I've been protected from aluminum the entire time I've been doing this. Anyway, 27,000 micrograms per liter of silicon in the Shasta water that I've been drinking gallons of for 2 years. I'm sorted. And it's also high in magnesium, which would be good, and phosphorus is good too. So, whoa, why is it doing that? Oh, sorry. Okay. Why is it? I'll have to drive from here. Oh no, that was actually that was the last slide. But anyway, I just want to rush through that part because I am just talking about a small part of a very large war against all of us. And even if something has passed through the hands of the other side, it's been messed with. All of it. You don't let somebody shady handle your food. Their media, everything from the other side. This is purely a spiritual war being fought in the physical plane. And first of all, I had my epiphany January in 2016. I know it's real. And you might not know it's real, but ask yourself, have you ever had a gut feeling that was wrong? The answer is no. We always have that guidance there. But anyway, I should get back to what I'm now going to do. So, David Keith says he's going to release up to 1 kilogram of materials including alumina, nanoparticles. I have some here. And I just used 5 nanometer. He can probably make them smaller or get them smaller. I paid retail for that. So I did the math. How many, if you know, I calculated the mass of a 5 nanometer sphere and how many you get in a kilogram. It's a very long number. And then I divided by the population of the planet, 7 billion. For every living man, woman, and child, in that 1 kilogram, he said he's going to release above here. The number, it's 5 and then 10 zeros. 10 zeros. That means it is statistically impossible for me personally not to breathe one of those things in eventually. And if I'm going to die from or with Alzheimer's, by breathing one of the particles that he says he's going to do, my life will be shortened, maybe not by much, but it will be shortened, and that is murder. Shortening someone's life is murder. And, by the way, I love it, you know, David Keith, he has a little red book. These guys are dark. They're really dark. So anyway, we have our book. This is a good one, King James. And they have theirs. This is one of theirs, Black's Law Dictionary. So, I mean, you don't throw around words like murder lightly. But I'll read what Black's Law has to say. Where are we? Murder. The killing of a human being with malice aforethought. He knows it's going to kill people. He's doing it ahead of time. That's malice aforethought. When you go down to first-degree murder, Black's Law 8th edition definition is murder that is willful, deliberate, or premeditated, or that is committed during the course of another dangerous felony. All murder perpetrated by poisoning or by lying in wait is considered first-degree murder. Black's Law. You can wrap as many regulations as you like around murder, but that's murder. I am not a lawyer, but I'm guided by some, they know their stuff. Or he, the whole spirit thing. So and the people I've been led to speak to were beautiful. I mean, like Chris Exley gave me the entire reason how, I know all that stuff. And I spoke to Will Burns, who he was giving the usual dog and pony show, like, oh yeah, we're thinking of doing this thing to save you from global warming, and here are the two options. There's solar radiation management and carbon capture, right? I wasn't going to try and get him to admit it was going on, because that would put him in danger. I don't want him to get hurt either. But turns out he's got a doctorate in international environmental law. And I thought, if anybody knows how to screw with the other side, he would, and maybe he could help, and he did. If you go and Stop Spraying Us, there's the interviews there. He told me all the different options about, like, for example, if we tried to go against them on using the treaty regimes, I'm not a state. I'm not a party to that treaty. The government is. I'm not. And there's all these plot loopholes and whatever. But if I was a medical device manufacturer, and a lot of people were making the same medical device, and it was faulty, someone can sue me even though I have a small part of the market share. I'm partially liable. I owe that percentage of the damages from that medical malpractice suit. So, David Keith, by that precedent, is liable for the percentage of all future Alzheimer's cases in perpetuity. But it's not just David Keith. He's doing it out of Harvard. The Harvard endowment is exposed. He's also funded by Bill Gates. That foundation is exposed, along with the Hewlett-Packard Foundation, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and a bunch of other philanthropists. And I will go to federal court in San Francisco and say, he's trying to kill me. Stop it. First of all, I want a restraining order on this guy, and then get a preventive injunction to prevent him from releasing any salt of aluminum other than aluminum hydroxide. It's got to be bauxite. I'm okay in spraying dust. But poison? And it's so clear. And if he argues it, I'm going to fly Chris Exley out and we'll put aluminum on trial. And they're going to wish they were in the asbestos business after that. Seriously. And then I will sue for a penny. A penny, proving there is a cost, and then say, I can only represent myself. But then I can say, hey, is there any class action lawyers out there? Find yourself a protected group. The snowy owl, a fish, the Navajo, whatever. Pick a group and represent them. Take your 40% and rape every... I wish no harm on them. I want them to stop. But you got to say no very clearly. If they do not stop, we will destroy them. They will be destroyed using the stuff they gave to us. David Keith. I mean, we have the puppies and ice cream side with all the yay stuff. The opposite, they have hate, fear, violence, mendacity. You expect them to lie. They're not going to freely admit what they're doing, but they do need our consent. And David Keith, by saying he's going to do that, is saying he's not mentioning laws and stuff, but we have also been told there are ways of doing it. They might be hidden, but if we do, if we do not say no, they'll do it. And if we let them, you know how it works. They are clearly, in plain English, asking our permission for us to agree to our own destruction. And no, that's not going to happen, not on my watch. And this is just, this is just what I said a lot similar at my previous thing in Kentfield, but this is, it's a war. Of course it's a war. And when people think of wars, they think of bullets and bombs and swords and shields and, destruction and stuff. Well, there's an opposite for everything. We create, they destroy. They harm, we heal. Their soldiers harm, our soldiers do the reverse of it. We stop the harm happening and tell them to, I wish I didn't have to clean up my language. It's so much easier. But, and we all have a job to do. Every one of you, everyone is here for a purpose. I am extremely blessed and eternally grateful that I know specifically what I'm here for. But you are not the most ultimate. You do not know everything. You are not omnipotent, but your will is indomitable. If you don't like broccoli, I cannot make you like broccoli. If I have a bad idea, I cannot get you to agree to that idea or with that idea or even have anything to do with it. The other side are giving us very bad advice. And when someone gives you bad advice, it's like, that's bad advice, and I'm not going to take that. So that's their influence. They are from darkness. They're bringing more darkness over here. We are on the light, and we bring light that direction. And we do it by being awesome. Be awesome. Choose love instead of anything. And you've got to recognize all of the characteristics of the things of the other side. You hate, fear, violence, whatever. Ugliness is something from the other side. You can have, you can have the tradition, what we're told is beauty is like a model who's 20 with lots of Photoshop and stuff. But a grandmother with her wrinkly fingers making the cool stuff, she wouldn't win a beauty contest with Angelina Jolie, who I think is absolutely repellent. She epitomizes ugliness because her soul shines out. Beauty is go with things that are awesome. And there's awesome all around, and you can manifest awesome. If you decide it's going to be a good day, it will be a good day. If you decide it's going to be a bad day, things seemingly outside your control will make them even more bad. Like, how did that happen? I live in San Francisco. Parking is a problem. I manifest parking. I always find a spot within 3 blocks of my house. And I don't know where it's going to be, but I know it's there. I'm protected. The water thing, that's very specific. We are always guided and protected. And when you ask for help, because you come to a thing and you're not quite sure what the solution is, and you think, okay, if only I had a thing to do the thing. When you are spoken to, you are told that you had the solution to that thing all along. It's probably in your right pocket or in your hand already. It's not, you don't have a problem and then they come in and fix it. It's already fixed. If any of you are parents, you never stop caring for and thinking about your children. You never do. Therefore, whatever we came from has the same attitude towards us, wants us to be okay, wants us to be happy. If you give a child a gift, they're happy. When you see their happiness, you're even happier, and they see your happiness, and it grows. So, for some, I mean, this is a huge thing. This is massive. And how can one individual stop something that big? Well, that started from a bad idea. And then that bad idea was a single point, a decision. Like as a grown man, I can assess, I can look around, I can see what's here, and then I can, when I'm not annoyed by a door slamming or whatever, or anxious or any kind of thing, I can make a calm decision. This is the thing to do, and then do it. That is creation. That's the point. It grows from the point and grows out. The wars start from a point and grow out. Opposites are very important. You have to understand, if you can understand yourself, you can understand the other side and just imagine with opposite intent. The way you start a war with is like a single point of pure evil, surrounded by evil, and let it grow naturally. Therefore, to make something even bigger than this, which is way more awesome, is from a still point of peace. And let it be awesome. And let it grow. And it'll take a while, but it'll overcome that. You know, light cannot be extinguished by darkness. And I can't make you change your mind. I mean, we're all different, but our will is inviolate. I mean, they can physically force you, like it's like push over, but you yourself are free. You're always being watched. You have guidance. The people will be sent to you to do your job. And the other thing, but they have all these great, huge structures and armies and organizations and buildings and money and all that stuff. Shiny badges. And I don't. I don't even have a degree. I got nothing. I'm just some guy. But whenever I need a thing, there just happens to be someone right in front of me, like, oh, here, I had this thing which I have no idea why I'm giving you this thing, but we have this massive army, but it's not an army. We don't have to be together. Armies are structures. You're held there by carrots and stick, and there's a structure, and everything has to. That's why they love their triangle. We are completely free. We are completely free. And the more stuff from the other side we get rid of, we become more pure, and the other side have less hooks into us. And we become more powerful. Think of I was at Fort Point, San Francisco, and I watched the sunrise there, and the waves would splash up onto the roadway, but in certain places they didn't. And I had a look to see why that was, and sure enough, there was a rock in the way, which sort of took some of the energy out of that wave that came over. Think of us as, like this whole vibration, higher vibration, all that kind of stuff. Think of yourself as a wave. When you add interference to a wave, or even if you're in a truck and anything that slows you down, if you can keep yourself pure, and you can just choose, you can recognize if something is good or bad. Choose good, always choose the right thing, always do the right thing, and you become more powerful. As long as you're further up here than they are down there, you will always prevail. And you will, because we are guided, we will never be put into a position where it will overcome us. So basically we win. And I talked way too long, I'm sorry. So should we do questions or? No, I thought you wanted me to wrap up.
No, I'd like to win.
Oh yay, we win. And if this is all, listen to your gut and do the right thing. But when God speaks to you, he actually spoke to me. It wasn't like in words and stuff, but I'm here to fully understand things. If any new thing that I encounter, there's like a subroutine that just makes sure I understand every single way how stuff works. So, and that's how I can defend the truth so easily, because I know the thing. So if a shield comes and attacks me, I have it defended from all sides. When I was given the understanding that God, or give it a name, Flying Spaghetti Monster, existed, it was given in a way that was completely bulletproof for me to understand, and I know God exists, which puts me at an advantage. But I need to have that advantage because I'm going into battle with the other guys. I know that my light is stronger than the vast majority than the other guys are dark. I can wander into Goldman Sachs and whatever. I am protected. Choose the right side. I mean, we still all have free will. I could also go to Goldman Sachs and work for them. I wouldn't be that good at it, but I could make that decision. The guys on the other side they're darker, therefore they make darker decisions. And I'm glad they do, because their ability to choose means we have the ability to choose. And if you choose awesomeness, we can have something way bigger than this. We are frankly going into a massive awakening. And it's going to be freaking awesome. And but here's the thing. We do not want to eliminate darkness. We need it. If it was all creation, there'd be an infinite amount of stuff and there'd be too much. Their job is destruction. And if there wasn't destruction, it's like, if you prefer it warm, you don't want to abolish cold. We have to have the full range. Right now, they're being a bit too crappy moving into our side. Then spontaneously people like me show up and it pushes back. We're going in, it's all balanced. It's all balanced. And because they're being extra crappy, we're being extra awesome. Or maybe because we're being extra awesome, that's making them being extra crappy. They themselves we're all one. Like, I have cheated, I've lied, I've stolen, I shoplifted sweets when I was a child. I know all this stuff. I've been there because we are all in between. We're not God, we're not Satan, we live in between. But if you're an adult, you see what you would like, manifest it and be that thing. If you want someone to listen to you, you listen to them. If you want someone to be happy with you, you're happy with them. Start small. I mean, start with parking. We are not God, but we can create like God does. We can have a great party. We can help someone. We can just give water, whatever it is. And every single, the smallest point of good that you create, even if it's infinitely small speck, means there is more good globally. So if you go with like the God-devil thing, the devil can feel every time you do the slightest good thing. And so we are not going to fight them using their tools. We become awesome. Listen to our guts and do the right thing. And this is just what I'm doing. It's a pretty specific job. And there's other people who are doing other things, like you've heard them today. And of course they're going to be that way because that's their nature. It's our nature to be the opposite, and we are the natural balance, and it is going to be okay. I'm not being Pollyannish. I know that there's crappy stuff out there, and I actually am glad for the crappy stuff because it makes me stronger. The shields keep me honest. They make me purer and more concise in my message, and it's all good. We need challenges. If it's all puppies and ice cream, you're just getting fat and bored. So it's gone too far to one side, therefore you can't fill up one side of your bathtub. We are going to win, and it's great. I mean, we got 150 people here, which is great. You're going to have people saying, wow, you were talking about that back in whenever. But this is the year it stops. As I say, I've got the proof that it's going on and methods to screw them up. So, oh, by the way, every living human also has standing. Just saying. So have at it. And like I said, I'm just going after the small thing. I'm not touching on all the other stuff that they spray and all the other. And find out what you're good at. I mean, Matt mentioned it earlier. Like, if you're good at knitting, knitting could be the thing that will win this thing. I'm not you. I don't know what your thing is, but everything in your life was put there for a purpose. And you'll think like, oh, I wasted my time. No, even procrastinating couldn't be, oh, it wasn't the right time to do that thing. It's anything waged against us we can use to screw with them. I mean, I'm using aluminum-based deaths against them to screw them up. We are always given the solution, and therefore we will win. And there'll be plenty more people like me, and it's going to be awesome. So yay us. Also, if you didn't get a pin, I got extra pins, and if you got a water container, you can fill up with the Shasta water. It's awesome. I know it's a long drive, but even from Arizona, I think it's worth getting a pickup and just getting a crap load. So yay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yay.
Love you, brother.
Yay. I'm even using a mic.